It's 17 past 8 in the evening, and this is just the epitome of my life right now, is doing things in the little moments when I can. And I guess in this video, in this episode, I want to share with you what life looks like for me now, 6 months after my son was born. I've also got a 3-year-old, and what it's looked like running a business, taking time off, doing all of the things, and how life actually practically looks. I think I wish I saw more behind the scenes of what it looked like for women in business doing this, because I think so many of us are doing this, but what does it actually look like? And I'm going to miss things because mum brain, but I wanted to share with you little bits that I've been remembering and thinking about of what these last 6 months have looked like, how I prepared for maternity leave, and all those different bits and pieces. So very much more of a personal episode, but obviously a ton of business insights in here, less design focused, but definitely business focused. So let's dive in. So hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Jacqui and I'm a graphic designer, and I teach business owners how they can use programs like Canva to create their own incredible brand and graphics. But today, that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about me and stuff. I hope this doesn't sound like self-centered, but I just hope that sharing my story, I got a message when I shared some of this on Instagram of someone saying, just thank you for sharing this, because I'm about to go into this same season, or actually no, I've got a baby similar age to you, and it's just really inspiring to see how you do life and business. So I hope that you might be able to take a couple of bits from this episode and use some of them, think other parts are stupid, not make the same mistakes that I have, all those things. And maybe it inspires you that as women and as business owners, we can do both and hold them in tension and still have successful businesses and successful personal lives, which my life is in those things is mostly successful most of the time, not all of the time. So to begin, I want to set the stage, set the scene, give you a bit of an overview of what my business and life looks like, so that you know you've got some context to going into what I'm going to share, because I think sometimes you might see me on Instagram and be like, oh, how is she doing everything? And the answer is that I'm not. And so I wanted to kind of give you a bit of an overview of everything and what that looks like. And so firstly, I've been running my business for over 10 years, and that's been building up for many, many, many moons. And so if you are newer in business, I hope that you don't feel like that you need to have this same level of success, I said that in quotation marks, as myself, because we've got a different journey, we've got different stories, and your business journey is going to look so different to mine. And so don't put that same pressure on yourself, because this has been a long time coming. Rome wasn't built in a day. And so I've spent 10 years, I guess a brief overview of my journey. I went to uni, studied graphic design, started my own business straight out of university, ran my own business as just a normal standard business, as a graphic designer, doing design work for business owners. Then about 5 years ago, I shifted my business and I started doing more coaching and courses, and I launched my course, DIY Design My Biz. That's still running today. And from there, I kind of launched a couple more programs. I launched the Co-Creation Design Club. I launched some more just one-on-one stuff. I don't do that anymore. And I also stopped doing design work for a period when I had my first daughter. So I've got a 3-year-old. She's turning 4 in December. And so that was a whole season. And so I pretty much launched my initial course with the idea that I could put that as a program that could make me money while I was parenting with my firstborn daughter, because obviously there's so many ways you can do business and motherhood. And you don't have, for me, I've chosen to be a mostly stay-at-home mum. My parents look after my daughter 1 day a week. And beyond that, I have her. And my husband also works for himself. He works from home. He is a event person. He live streams funerals. He live streams sporting events. He times sporting events. And so that's what he does. But it means that he can be home during the day sometimes if he's not out at a funeral job. And so I do have that initial, that extra bit of help as well. And so that's what our life looks like. But if some parents will choose to put their kids into care, they'll do other things. Like there's so many different ways that you could do business and life, and they're all got their merit. And so this is just what mine looks like. So just prefacing, I guess, with that as well. But yeah, going back to the fact that I launched my course for the idea that I could then have this program that could sell on Evergreen, because obviously as a business owner, as a graphic designer, I was pretty much exchanging hours for money. If I did an hour's worth of work, I got paid X amount of money. And while that's really great and a great way to do life and business and career, what that meant was I wouldn't be able to work very much as a mum. And so my income would greatly suffer because of that. And so I wanted to see if there was a way that I could capitalize on the time that I was spending and have that reach more people, serve more people, and also bring in more income for myself, which is why I launched the course all those many years ago. And first launch of that went great. Second launch didn't go great. And so there's been years and years of iterations to my marketing and to that program and to helping that to grow to where it is now, where it's currently selling relatively frequently and regularly through things like YouTube, through things like my Facebook ads, through lots of things that I've spent years implementing and refining. was just mentioning that in there too. Like, oh, Jacqui's course is so successful. It wasn't always that way. And then so I've got my courses, I've got my group coaching program, which I'll tell you much more about soon. And I also have my design studio. And so after my baby, my first daughter was born, I pretty much paused all design work except for like 2 clients. I'd just keep working with them and that was it because I didn't have much time. And then one thing after that happened, and eventually I decided to open a design studio where I now hire as freelancers currently designers that work for my team, my studio team, and work for me and the studio doing design work. So my design services are now essentially back open, but I'm not super hands-on with that. My incredible design team, who I believe are far more talented than myself at actually doing the design work. I'm great at coaching. They're great at the design work. And so that is happening alongside my business as well, also bringing in an income, which I should mention that as well. I haven't got it in my notes, but I'll just mention it now because I'm going to forget if I do it otherwise. In essence, I didn't expect to have the studio. That wasn't part of my life goals, my business plan. It just kind of happened. And then so in August of 2023, I officially launched that. I had been doing it on the side from the start of 2023 with one designer, and then in mid 2023, I hired a second designer, and we officially launched that publicly because I was kind of just doing stuff on the side before then, and we officially launched that publicly in August 2023, which was a month after I found out I was pregnant. So I was sick in first trimester, tiredness and sickness in that launch party. It was not very fun. But in essence, that's when that launched. And then so I had pretty much August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. My son was born at the end of March. And so I had 6 or 7 months to kind of get this studio up and running without me because I wanted to take time off for maternity leave. And so what happened is one of the designers on that team was really happy to keep on working with me ongoing. She's like, I want to work for you. Like, this isn't just like a fill-in job. We're going to grow this together. And so her name is Vanessa. If you've ever worked with a studio, you will have met Vanessa, and she is incredible. And in essence, I spent those few months kind of just working with her. And then eventually I was like, I need to pass the reins like totally over to you because I'm planning on taking this time off. And so my plan was to have about 2 months off, totally off the business once I had my son. And it was kind of like, I think for her, a bit of a baptism of fire of like, oh my goodness, I've got to do all these things. And so we did some transition, and she eventually took over the studio, and she has been doing an incredible job of that. And I've left the studio in her capable hands. Now with a 6-month-old, my time is still really, really poor, and she's doing a far better job. And so what I found is being able to just pass that over to her and have that as her baby, that I'm still all over. I know every single client that we have. I know every single project we're working on. I see all the emails coming in. They're still connected with my with my inbox. Like, I see everything, but I don't have to action the things, and I get to just help her and support her and have my eye on things and do the things, but knowing that my clients are getting fully looked after, because some clients are like, oh, can I just work with Jacqui, ones that I've worked with before in the past? And I'm like, I mean, you can, but you're going to be waiting like 2 weeks between each email, because that's just where I'm at right now. And so I'm just really glad that the studio side of things is getting looked after. And so anyway, back to, preparing for maternity leave. So I had the studio side, which I passed over to Vanessa and trained her up to do that. Then I also had my content. Like, I am posting every week to YouTube. I'm doing a podcast every week. I'm doing a tutorial every single week. And so there was lots of content going out. And so in the months leading up to my maternity leave, I was just pumping out the batching. I was planning and recording so much content. I was doing multiple recordings every single Tuesday, which was my work day, and just doing all the things. And I've done a whole episode talking about how I prepared for maternity leave. It's episode 154 if you're on the podcast. I'll link it here if you are listening on YouTube. And in essence, that was how I prepared for mat leave. And I went far more into that there. But in essence, I did a lot of content planning as well, which meant that my YouTube and my podcast was still getting looked after. I could have 100% paused that. But for me, if I pause something, I stop it. And so I wanted that momentum to keep going so that can keep like serving my business, because I know that my business grows when I share a YouTube video, because more people are seeing my content and then they're joining my course from that. And so I knew that if I kept on putting that content out there, I would continue to get sales in my business, even though I wasn't showing up as a person in that time, particularly in my social media organically. And finally, in my setup, there was obviously my support as well. And so it's important to know, if you're feeling like you're comparing about how my maternity leave went to compare to yours, of I have team. I have a VA that helps me set things up. I have a video editor that helps me do all the editing. So all I need to do is actually do the recording. I have my design team that are doing all the design stuff. And so there's all this support that I've got now that I didn't have the first time I had maternity leave. I just had me, and I just had my course, which kind of went okay during mat leave, but it didn't bring in that much income then. And so I'm never doing this stuff alone. And I think that's important to know if you don't have support. And so coming on to the birth of my son, I had him. So he was born on Good Friday on March, I think, 29th or so. And that was an incredible birth. We got to have a water home birth, which was so beautiful. And I feel so blessed to be able to experience that. And so that was really great. And the birth, thankfully, was really smooth, which meant that my recovery was relatively smooth. And again, talking about support, my husband was able to take a little bit of time off his business, not a huge amount of time, but I've got family. I had meals delivered. I had prepared my own meals in the freezer. I don't think I had to cook for at least 2 months, apart from like warming things up and adding rice to a meal or something. And so recovery was really smooth, and I was allowed to rest. I sat on the couch as much as you can with a toddler as well, and just let my body recuperate and rest. And I think that was really important. And I was also even blessed enough to be gifted what we call a postpartum doula. And she came over every week, and she would help me do a bit more cooking, or she would help me do the washing or fold up things or change the sheets, and just doing things that you find really hard in the weeks after having a baby. And so that was also really useful too. Something else that I did too that made it really hard to run my business in those first few months, so I'm so glad that I had that time off, was sleeping. I just had to sleep so regularly because my son was waking up multiple times during the night. I had to get to bed early, and I was still recovering, and it just meant that I was going to bed literally at 7 o'clock when my son did, because I just needed that sleep. And so now, as I'll share with you soon, like my work time is in the evenings. Like, apart from my Tuesdays when I get some work done with my daughter being cared for, I actually need that evening time. And every single night of the week, apart from Saturday nights, which is my Sabbath, I'm working every night. And so I'm so glad that in those early few months that I just gave myself time just to sleep and just to rest. And I think that time of just resting and stopping from the business, which is hard as a workaholic and someone I honestly really love my work. And while sometimes it feels really daunting, like when I've got a call booked, I'm like, oh, I've got to make time for this call at 10 o'clock, whatever. When I get onto that call, I am loving life. It is just the best. And I feel so honored and excited for the work that I get to do. And so there's this balance that I have, that I feel in tension with all the time, of like, I love what I do, but also I just wish I didn't have to work. But also I've chosen to work. I technically probably could survive if we didn't work and we was just my husband and we lived a bit more thrifty. But in essence, I love my job and I love the women I get to serve. But having that time off was really important because it gave me time just to stop. And I think that was really important for me to be able to actually just enjoy the season with my newborn, of not rushing that away, of not thinking, oh, hurry up and get to sleep because I needed to do that. Instead, I just got to sleep with him in my arms. Like, we just get to rest into that season, which for me was one of the reasons I started my business in the first place. A reason I wanted to be a business owner was so that I could have the flexibility to be a mum and to be present and be a mum and not have to worry about getting back to work quickly, and not have to worry about not have to worry about any of those things. And to be honest, in Australia, there's really great maternity leave, so I probably would have had more time to rest with my newborn should I have had a normal job, and I would have got actual leave rather than leave that I kind of made up for myself. Although I did get government support on there. If you're in Australia, I did get government support for a few weeks of my leave, which was really great. But in essence, that time to stop, I think, was really important for me and made sure that I actually prioritize the thing that I say that I care about, which is my family, and sometimes I get distracted and I get pulled into business and I think, oh, I've just got to work harder and do this and do that. But it's like, Jacqui, is that really what you want? Didn't you start this business to be a mum? Didn't you start this business because you wanted to be present? Didn't you start this business because you didn't want to feel pressure to go back to work? You're your own boss. Don't pressure yourself to get back to work. Like, there's this constant tension, and I'm still feeling that so heavily now. Anyway, but that time off gave me space to dream. It gave me space to see the business from a different perspective. It gave me space to see the business of what I wanted it to be, rather than just continuing things going and not reassessing things, I guess. I think that was really important. Something that I did do in that time, which I don't know if it was the best idea or not, but I've done it now, is I purchased a YouTube coaching program with Trina Little, if you know her. And she launched this program, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this the right time to join? I was like, you know what? There's never a right time to join. I'm always going to feel busy and stuff. So I think around when my baby was 2 months old, I joined that program, which is a 6-month program. And I think I'm getting closer to the end of it, obviously. And I'm like, I haven't done as much as I would have liked to in there, but having that there has helped me in my YouTube channel immensely. So it's fine. It's good. But it's like, oh, just classic me, just doing too many things. But anyway, that was just a side point. But I think the time, I'm just going around in circles, the time that I had to be able to dream and to just sit in my business gave me the idea for my best program ever. So I launched the Co-Creation Design Club at the end in August. So the month just gone, and it was my biggest launch, literally the biggest launch I've had in my business to date. It wasn't quite double my most successful launch prior, but it was almost double my most successful launch prior. And I think that is wild to have been a baby at 5 months old that I did my best launch ever. And again, that wasn't just because I'm amazing. That was because of 10 years of building up my business. I did an Instagram story which resonated with a lot of people during my launch, and I was like, just so you know, this is my best launch ever. But it's been because I've taken long strides in the same direction for a long time. I've been a graphic designer for a long time, and I've stuck to this same message of coaching business owners, of sharing, like, this is my 180 something podcast episode. I've done it every year, every week almost for 4 years, and I've just kept on going. Like, I don't get a huge amount of listens on my podcast, but I still keep going because I really, really believe in that consistency and sharing that and setting myself up as the go-to person for this stuff just over and over and over makes all the difference. And so while I can be like, oh, I had this great idea in maternity leave because I gave myself time to breathe and stuff, like, yes, it was a great idea. And yes, I'm really happy I had it. But there was those long strides forward in my business for years on end that has led to that being a successful launch, as well as everything else. I'll try to share a few more things around that soon. I feel like this is going to be a long podcast episode. Anyway, so while I was on mat leave, I thought of the Co-Creation Design Club, which the Co-Creation Club is a program that I have run in the past, but it looked different because I knew that in the past I would have like 3 or 4 calls every single week with my students, and that just was not going to be sustainable with 2 babies, with 2 kids, a baby and a toddler. Or can you call, like, when did a toddler change from a toddler to a little kid? I think she's a little kid now. She's 3, nearly 4, but to a small human and a baby, I was like, I can't have regular calls. I don't know how I'm going to actually make this work. Like, I love this program. People are always asking me to bring it back, but how can I actually do this in a way that's going to be sustainable and successful for this season, that people actually get helped, they get the results. And so joining that YouTube coaching program, I was like, this is the way that I could do it. And so I reworked things and I tweaked things as I was just sitting there feeding, as I just had that time off, I was able to create this new program in my mind. And it involved weekly calls, 1 call every week, which is far more sustainable. It involved a longer program. So instead of it being 6 weeks or 10 weeks, which is what the club looked like in the past, it was 6 months, but it was a similar price point because it was longer, but it had less calls, less frequently. And so like I was just reworking everything. I was adding in extra bonuses, I was adding in design credits with my studio team so they could get done for you design, as well as me helping them with their designs, as well as this coaching, as well as my DIY course. And there was like just kind of creating this and letting it flow and form. And it was so fun to be able to picture that and then launch that and see it come to fruition in over those last couple of months. But that's how it's gone. And so moving to the then actual launching this program, I had all these dreams of like, I knew that I don't have a huge amount of capacity to do stuff now that I'm a parent of 2. It's like, how am I going to launch this program? Like launches are a big deal. Launches take a lot of effort. And so I ended up, my dream was to plan and prepare everything. Like I was going to have all my social media posts scheduled. I was going to have all my emails written. I was going to do all the things because the launch is a big deal. But what ended up happening was not that, because I have no time. I didn't have time to prep and batch a whole lot of content because I was still doing the regular things was back into the groove of recording a podcast every week. I was back into the groove of recording a tutorial every week. Like there was all these things still happening in the business, plus the parenting thing, plus still like 3 months old, they still need you a lot. And so at that point I was like, all right, I'm just going to have to just lean in, but let go of my expectations of what I hoped for, of just having this perfect before I launched it and just put it out there. And so I did my usual launch runway. I launched a freebie, I launched a masterclass, and then I launched the program. And I know that system inside out now, so that worked smoothly. But all of those things I was creating the night before I was launching them. Like the freebie checklist, I was fixing the day that it went out. The masterclass I was writing the night before I presented it. Like that's just how it has to be in this season. And to be honest, it's not as if it's that dissimilar for me in any season. I'm a bit of a last minute gal. But in essence, I didn't let myself be wrong about those things. I didn't let myself think, oh, I haven't planned it all, I haven't got it all ready. Just because I have not got it prepared in advance doesn't mean it's going to be bad content. I knew what I was presenting was going to be good. I just needed the time to do it last minute. So I did those things, and I had hundreds of people signing up for this. And it was just wild and so cool that I got to do this stuff while working in nap times and while working in the evenings. And thankfully, if you watch some of my early YouTube videos, I was working with baby wearing. I was wearing my son on me most of the time while I was doing because he for the first 4 months, he wouldn't get put down for a nap. Like I couldn't just put him down and he would stay asleep. He would wake up straight away. And I was like, well, I want you to have sleep. So sleep on me. And that just meant that to get anything done, I would just work with him on me. And that worked. Yes, it hurt your back eventually, but it was also really beautiful to just record a video and see him sleeping on me. And I think that also connected me with a lot of my audience. And so I had to roll with it. That launch was all off the cuff. It was all done as I went. Every email was written the day before or the moment before I pressed send. Every social media post was written on the go. And because I had run the club before, I wasn't totally working from scratch with my content. I knew that I had previous posts that I'd done in years before that were still relevant to this new iteration of the club. So that was okay. I used ChatGPT a lot for it. I got its help to kind of help me plan and to help me think about, right, what angle should I present now and how should I present this email? And while the content might not have been 100% perfect, it was getting out there, and that helped me. And at this point, I was also working with my coach, and things were kind of falling together. And I just did the best that I could. And I had the big goals. I actually hit my goal, my dream goal for the club, just to share more personal with you, was 20 people. And this week I hit that goal. I had someone join last minute and that hit my goal of 20 people, which I find wild. And so just a side thing that I really believe in is setting goals for yourself. Even that first course that I launched, when I first launched DIY Design My Biz, my coach helped me to think of a really big stretch goal. And that was 55 people to have my first ever online course. You know what number of people I got in that course? 55. There's something about making a goal and actually holding yourself to it that I think is really, really powerful. And so just to encourage you there, I think dream big, have a big goal. If you don't hit it, it's not the end of the world. Like, you got to hold it loosely. It's not attached to your value as a person if you don't hit this goal. But I would 100% not have pushed for 20 people if I didn't set that big goal. If I was like, no, 5 would be amazing, which 5 would have been amazing, then I would have settled for 5. But instead, because I set that goal for 20, I was like, no, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to keep posting. I'm going to keep doing the thing. I'm going to keep showing up because I want those 20 people. Here's now to change text into how life actually looks post-launch, because to be honest, I think post-launch has even been more hectic than launch, because this might have been an oversight on my behalf. I promised a one-on-one call to each of those 20 people, and I want that one-on-one call to happen at the start of the program. And so in this first month, I've had to try to find, like I did a call right before this at 7 o'clock. I literally we take my kids to bed at 6:30, we read books to them, I feed my son and I put him down, and at 6:59, I'm putting him down, and at 7 o'clock, I'm in my office on a call. Like, that's just how life is right now. I'm finding pockets of time anywhere that I can to try to fit in those one-on-one calls, try to fit in recording things like this. And it's just what it is. And while I would be very much, I'm looking forward to when it calms down a little bit, and then I have future club intakes, which I'll be opening up an intake in October. When I have that next intake, I'm not going to be accepting 20 people in. It's going to be 5 people, because I can't keep that capacity of heaps of calls all the time. But that's just kind of how things roll, and it's been good. It's been fun. I've loved being on the calls with people, but it has been hectic. Like, it's a lot. I'm having a call at like 8 o'clock in the morning because my husband's home then, so I know that I can fit a call in, and then 2 or 3 times during the day, and then again in the evening, and that's just what it is. And sometimes if you want to make, if you're in that stage where you're like, I just want to make this business work and I enjoy this and it's not going to burn me out, then doing this kind of stuff can be really fun and can be good for a season. It just needs to make sure, like for me, I just need to make sure it's not a prolonged thing where I will get burnt out. But this meantime, for this month or 2, I can handle that extra capacity, and life's going to keep on changing. I just need to remember that this season of life and business with a 6-month-old, it's going to look different to a 7-month-old. It's going to look different to an 8-month-old. It's going to look different in summer than it does in winter. It's going to look different how many people I have in my programs and how much support I have. And I've now also got a support coach, a success coach inside my club, because I want people to, because like I knew that I wouldn't be able to keep people accountable in the way that I wanted to. So I hired someone to help me to do that. And so she checks in with people. She says, how are you going with this thing? How are you going with that thing? Can I support you in any way? And all these, I think a big thing that's really helped me is just outsourcing whenever I can, outsourcing to whether it's even just different programs. Like, my husband's quite against like heaps of subscriptions and programs to help him with his business, but I'm just like, let me have it. Like, if you're going to automate this for me, if you're going to send that email for me, if you're going to do this, like if there's a program that can do something for me, I'm usually buying it, because my time is so precious right now that even if it's costing me money, I know that I can make that money back by having an extra person join the club that I now have the capacity for, because I've outsourced that particular thing to that automation or to that program, or to having a success coach that I can pay and I can support her in her life. And just having that mindset that outsourcing is a good thing as long as my business can sustain it. It's been a really good thing. And while my profit isn't as high, I can serve more people and I can enjoy it more, because I'm actually doing things that are going to sustain that. And so hopefully that, I guess, makes sense. And I'm hopefully looking into hiring even maybe a cleaner to help with the stuff at home. I mentioned on my Instagram stories a while ago when I finished my launch of like, just so you know, I don't do everything. And it was me, I was filling up the laundry, and I was like, just so you know, during this season of this launch, when life has been busy, I haven't cleaned the house. Like, I've done the dishes and anything that needs done, but the shower hasn't got cleaned, the toilet's barely got cleaned, like the sheets haven't got cleaned, like nothing's got cleaned. I can't do everything. I pick and I choose what I'm going to focus on in particular seasons. For me in my life, I feel like I have 3 parts. I've got my work, my mumming, and my house. And if I'm doing work and mumming well, I'm not doing house well. If I'm doing house and mumming well, I'm not doing work well. And so I've just got to choose different things at different times, because I can't do all of them really well at every single moment. So I guess just permission for you, if you're feeling like you've got all these things that you need to do, what balls can you just let go for a moment? A coach that I work with once, Bridget from Simply Be, I think is what her business is called. And she talks about having these glass balls in the air that you're juggling. And some balls are glass and you don't want to drop them. And some balls are bouncy balls. They're going to pick back up. And for me, cleaning is a bouncy ball. I can drop that and it will bounce back up when I'm ready to pick it back up again. Or maybe spending going on walks and doing heaps of activities with my kids is a bouncy ball, but being a really great present mum in general is a glass ball, and I want to make sure I do that well, but maybe some extracurricular activities they can let slide for a month or a couple of weeks or a couple of days, whatever it needs to be. I don't need to have everything perfect all the time. I can just do the best that I can at the time and let things slide when they need to. I think just if you're feeling that, just permission to let some things slide, that you don't have to have a perfect house and be cooking perfect meals and be doing all this perfection stuff at the same time as other things. Sometimes business is going to take a front seat. Sometimes your house is going to take a front seat. Sometimes family is going to take a front seat. Hopefully, whatever your priorities are always takes a front seat, and those glass balls are always getting looked after. If there's some things you can let go, I just give you permission to do that, because that's helped me so much. And so that mindset has really helped me. And so I wanted to share some other things that have helped me if you're in a similar season to myself or are planning on being in a similar season. So outsourcing, letting some balls go when you need to, when you're from your juggling thing. And also things just like making to-do lists. Like I live on my to-do lists. There's this, I have my Asana board. So I've got all of my tasks in Asana, which means that when I'm going from mum mode to work mode, I can actually switch and do that productively. And so, for example, for me at this stage, my son's in bed and my daughter's happily playing. I can quickly jump onto my laptop, but I keep a laptop at my kitchen bench, my dining table, so that I can just open it up if she's happily playing and just do a few things, write a couple of emails, do a social media post, whatever it needs to be at that time. But the way that I do that well is that I have my Asana that's always going, and I can see what tasks need to be happening today, because then I can look at that, I can just do the next task and it's happening, and then I can get back to mum mode. I don't have to spend heaps of time like reacquainting myself with the business. I don't do deep work in those times. I don't plan like a course masterclass. I do those in the evenings when I've got some more time to actually think. But in essence, having that to-do list that I can just jump to whenever I have a moment is really useful for me. Another thing that's been really useful to remember is this idea that nothing is a problem. My coach, Ellie Swift, she embodies this herself as well, of like, I think my brain always looks for, what's the problem here? There's always a problem. I need to fix that problem. I need to fix this problem. And it's like, Jacqui, is that actually a problem? Is it a problem that you've got a call coming up later today and you're stressing about getting your son down for a nap before that call happens? It might be tricky, but it's not a problem. Nothing's going wrong yet. You can just work towards that and ease into it, rather than thinking this is a problem. I need to be stressed. I need to work this out. It's a thing that we can work towards, but it's not a problem. And just that mindset has been really helpful to me. Like, obviously some things are a problem. Like if my daughter fell off the step and cracked her head, then I'd be taking her to the hospital. That is a problem. But there's so many things in life we just problematize, and it's not really a problem thing. It's just us trying to make a problem because our minds need problems. I don't know if your mind is like mine, but that's just what my brain does. It just is always looking for the next problem and the thing to solve. But it's like, this doesn't have to be a problem to solve it. Let's just solve it lightly. And that just takes the stress off life and business of like, cool, if I'm 1 minute late for a call, that's okay. If I'm 10 minutes late for a call, it's not ideal, but I can message people. I can put a note in my Slack community saying, sorry, I'm late. My son isn't going down. I'm going to come as soon as I can. Like there's things that like, it feels like things are such a big issue, but no one's life is in the balance when I'm doing this work. You know, I can do my best, and that's all that I can do. And so just taking that pressure off sometimes has been really useful as well. And then this idea of, I often find myself like getting frustrated at the kids, like say I'm at the dining table doing a little bit of work and then my son wakes up and my daughter's getting grumpy that she wants someone to play with. And I'm like, no, I'm doing this. This is really important. Like I need to work on this. Or, oh, why'd you wake up? I just put you down. You should have been still. Like, I'm just getting this grumpy mindset. I just have to remind myself of, Jacqui, they're the reason. They're your why. Your business you care about and you want to do your best work, but it can wait. It can wait. It's not the end of the world. And just, Jacqui, this is the reason you started your business, was that you could have this family. Stop and enjoy it. And just reminding myself really regularly of, Jacqui, this is everything you've ever wanted. Having a healthy family and a successful business at the same time is the dream. And you're currently living that dream reality. Wake up and enjoy it. And that doesn't mean you have to enjoy all the hard moments, but it does mean like, I just want to learn to be grateful for those moments instead of feeling resentful that my son is woken up, feeling grateful that I've got a son, you know, and just stopping myself in the moments where I'm feeling resentful, stopping myself in the moments where I'm feeling frustrated at my kids because I can't work, and just reminding myself that this is what I wanted. I chose to be a stay-at-home mum who has a business. I could have gone to business. I could put my kids in care and that would be fine, but I chose to do it this way. I need to own that choice and be grateful for what I've got, you know, and I don't know if that resonates with you at all, but just for me, just to remind myself to be grateful in those times has been really, really powerful. And I guess on that mindset and reflection piece of reflecting on my business really regularly, I need to do this so regularly. Is this supporting me? Is this what I want? Of like, is having all these one-on-one calls that I need to like spend every spare moment of my life on what I want? And the answer is no. So how can I change things? Is it limiting my intakes? Is it outsourcing those calls? Is it not doing those one-on-one calls? Is it having the call sometime in the first 6 months of working with me rather than in the first month? I don't know the answer to that, but it's really regularly asking myself those questions to make sure that what I'm doing is sustainable, that I'm not going to get burnt out and have to stop helping the people altogether in a business, that I'm not going to get burnt out and resent my family. Like that what I'm doing is actually what I want. Like, do I have to be posting to social media every day? Do I have to have Instagram at all? Should I just stop doing Instagram? Should I just stop doing YouTube? Like, what's actually working in my business? Do I need to be doing the podcast? Like, just asking myself the questions of what is serving my business, my lifestyle, and everything that I believe in right now, and what's not. And not being afraid to let things go, not being afraid to change things, not being afraid to tweak things, and just regularly asking myself, is this working or is it not? So I think sometimes we just get caught up in, I need to be doing this, and this, or business needs to look this way, or I need to be like, our brain just likes to just fit into a mold and follow down that track. And that's a good thing because it stops us like rehashing things that have already been sorted. But so many times in this season where my life is changing quite frequently, I need to constantly ask myself of, is this working, and is there anything I need to change? I'm sure there's so much more that I could speak to you, but my memory card is running out. So I'm going to end that there. I hope it's been useful for you. I hope it's inspiring you to what your reality can look like in your business. And if you ever want to work with me in the club or DIY Design My Biz, I am here for that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Let me know what your tips are and how you've gone as a mum in business. I would love to know.